everyone, a very warm welcome to another edition of World Panorama. Here we are getting you your weekly dose of major international news with a perspective. I am Sana Khan. Before we get you detailed reports, here's a look at the top stories this week. Pope Francis from Argentina, elected the 266th Holy Roman Pontiff, becomes the first non-European pontiff in nearly 1300 years. But will he bring change? Dozens dead in Bangladesh. War crimes verdict continue to spark repeated clashes between Jamaat-e-Islami supporters and police. Diplomatic row between Italy and India escalates. India considers downgrading its mission in Italy. Even a Supreme Court bars Italian envoy from leaving country. And also on the show, a look at some of the biggest names in sports as they get rewarded at the Laureus Sports Awards. Straight to the story in focus this week, the world has a new pope. And this pope, Jorge Mario Bergoglio of Argentina, now to be better known as Francis I, has to confront a new world. And that journey won't be easy. In the 8 years since a similar papal conclave elected the recently resigned Pope Benedict XVI, the Catholic Church has faced vexing problems from banking cover-up charges to damaging internal leaks. Meanwhile, many of the faith's 1.2 billion followers, especially those in the United States, press for reforms on gay marriage, contraception and female clergy, as well as increased vigilance against pedophilia, a plague on the church over the past several decades. Indeed, Pope Francis takes the helm at a difficult time for the Catholic Church, facing an array of challenges that include the role of women as well, interfaith tensions and dwindling congregations in some parts of the world. Cardinal Bergoglio, who was not among the frontrunners before the election, is regarded as a doctrinal conservative, but he is also seen as a potential force for reform of the Vatican bureaucracy, which may have won the support of reforming cardinals. Will he bring about the change that many hope for? To talk about this and more this week, I welcome Dr. Matthew Joseph, Associate Professor from Jamia Millia Islamia University. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me on World Panorama. Before I get his perspective, here's a look at this report.
Jorge Mario Bergoglio of Argentina was elected Pope on March 13th to lead the Roman Catholic Church, a prelate announced to huge crowds gathered in St. Peter's Square. He took the name Pope Francis. White smoke rose from the Sistine Chapel and the bells of St. Peter's rang out, sending out a signal that cardinals had elected a new Pope to succeed Benedict and take charge of the troubled Roman Catholic Church. Crowds of thousands of Roman Catholic pilgrims from around the world cheered and waved flags in the air at St. Peter's Square.
Very beautiful. For the first time in the life to watch this event. Fantastic.
So emotional. It's white. I'm so happy.
Cardinals elected Bergoglio on just the second day of a secret conclave to find a successor to Pope Benedict, who abdicated unexpectedly last month. Francis becomes the 266th pontiff in the Church's 2,000-year-old history at a time of great crisis and difficulty. Although a conservative, he is seen as a reformer and was not among the small group of frontrunners identified before the election.
Well, let's remember that he is a Latin American, and that's the most populous Catholic continent in the world. And I think the Cardinals' job is not to choose the most popular pope, but to choose the best pope. And I suppose that's what they think they have.
आज सुबह से हमारे लिए बहुत ही बेहद खुशी की बात है कि
We are happy since morning when we received the news that we have got a new pope who is simple, polite and a religious person.
और प्रार्थना से निर्भर और विनम्रता से निर्भर एक पोप हमें मिला है.
The first Latin American and Jesuit pope has received a flood of goodwill messages from around the world. But the Argentine also faces a series of tough challenges. The church, in the past, has been dogged by infighting and scandals over clerical sex abuse and alleged corruption. Just how the new pope will choose to use his power, of course, remains to be seen in the years and perhaps decades to come.
All right, straight to our guest now. Dr. Joseph, Pope Francis is the first from Latin America, also the first from the Jesuit order has been elected as a pope. How is the Catholic community really perceiving his being elected as the new pope, also considering the fact that he wasn't really the front runner as such, and his age is also what many thought the new pope is going to be perhaps a little younger?
Definitely, he is age-wise, he's in an advanced age. He's 76 by now. When the last pope was also elected, he was also almost 76. He abdicated his position last month. So this pope is considered to be a moderate conservative. So that itself is an indication that Catholic Church is not going to make much changes in its principles or doctrines, whatever you may call it, with regard to ordination of female priests or gay marriages or contraception, so on and so forth. And generally Jesuits are known for very revolutionary kind of thinking. That is the general understanding about Jesuits. And the current Pope, who is coming from Latin America is known as the continent of liberation theology, where Jesuits actually played a major role in somehow linking Marxist ideology with that of the basic principles of Christianity and Catholicism. So this Pope, though he is a Jesuit, he is not in support of those type of ideological transformation which has happened in Latin America. Right. So I don't see much of a change happening in Catholic Church in the near future.
Right. Also perhaps because of the time, because he'll have a limited period as Pope. He won't be there for, let's say, perhaps more than a decade at the maximum if you look at it. But experts are also saying that this Pope will, might or might not do, what do you feel, do a better job at promoting the religious identity that perhaps we saw what, John Paul II did or Pope Benedict XVI did. Pope Benedict XVI was known to be a globetrotter as such and going in promoting religious ideas everywhere that he could go.
I think this current Pope also will be a very active Pope because, he, considering his health and all that, he seems to be an active person. And he is a very humble person also. That is also going to send a very important message across the Catholic Church and outside the Catholic Church. That is also there. But the point is that, the most important issue with regard to Catholicism right now is that in the heartland of Catholicism, which is in Europe, the dwindling number of believers. Right. The same thing is also happening surprisingly in Latin America, where 40% of the Latin American population is or 40% of the Catholic population is Latin American. There are also a lot of changes happening in the sense that Catholics nowadays they are converting themselves into various evangelical and Pentecostal churches and all that. These issues are going to be a major concern for the current Pope. I think he will be able to arrest to an extent the transformation which is happening within Catholic Church, in the sense that people are leaving Catholic Church and things like that, especially in the continent of Latin America. Though Catholicism is growing in both Africa and Asia to an extent, but people say that this Pope is a Pope from Latin America and Pope, a non-European Pope after 1300 years and things like that. But the point is that this Pope has Italian ancestry and he doesn't, in figure also, he doesn't look like a non-European Pope. So I don't think that way he'll be able to capture the imagination of the so-called non-Western Catholic population all over the world. Right. But Catholic Church has got a particular structure, so Pope is the primus inter pares, so automatically he'll be commanding much of respect, no doubt about it. And considering his figure, his nature, his humbleness, he will be definitely having that kind of respect throughout the world. So, but I really suspect, will he be in a position to change seriously the major problems which are being faced by Catholic Church? Right.
We're going to be talking more about that, but interesting that you mentioned, because I have some figures which say that in 1910, Latin America and the Caribbean, 4% of the world's population in the region was 90% Catholic. When we compare that 100 years later in 2010, the regional share of the global population came up from 4% to 9%, but the Catholic population came down from 90% to 72%. So here we go. That's a huge challenge again for the Pope here. But we're talking about the Pope, the new Pope, being humble, but he also has sort of a dark past which has also raised a controversy already. like most Argentines, he didn't really publicly confront the dictators who ruled back in 1976 to 1983, and he was, he is regarded as a culprit by many. So what happens to that? And the Church, the Vatican has replied in a very stern manner, saying that he had nothing to do with what happened back then. But do you think this is going to affect his papacy in the years to come?
It's a problem which is actually affecting Catholic Church. The history of the State of Vatican, again, the last Pope's involvement with regard to, Hitler's his so-called Nazi past, and so on and so forth. The Pius XII was not opposing Mussolini. These things were there. This is part of Catholic history. The problem is not with regard to individuals. It is basically the issue with regard to Catholicism and democracy. If you see the history of Catholicism, wherever Catholicism is strong, democracy is not that strong. So democracy flourished in Northern Europe where Catholicism is not that strong. So that is a very important point one has to make. So these are all linked to that. The structure of Catholic Church is very hierarchical in nature, and most of the Latin American countries you find a lot of dictators. Dictatorships are also a kind of hierarchy. So somewhere, some kind of similarities are there in between these two institutions. So that is actually creating the problem. A positive step has been initiated by John the 23rd, by his historic Second Vatican Congress and all that. But that has not, the suggestions came forth in that Congress has not taken forward in full vigor. So the last two popes were in that sense very conservative. I think there will be a change in this Pope in terms of external appearance and things like that, but doctrinal issues, he will be just like that of the previous two popes.
All right. Also, lastly, we are talking about the change and, there are many issues that still persist in the Church, but what about, many people also talk about the bureaucracy within the Vatican at this point in time. So will he be able to deal with that to an extent in whatever his tenure is as the Pope?
I think, the Vatican Curia is generally, the administration there in Vatican is basically, it has got an Italian, Italian base. So this Pope is also fortunately from that kind of a background, though he's from Argentina. Yeah. He has got that Italian roots. Yeah. So he is able to speak in Italian language. So that also, I think he will be able to, to an extent, control and to an extent reform Vatican Curia. That is the general perception. Let's see how he is going to deal with that issue.
All right. So Pope Francis of Argentina is certainly going to be one of the most divisive church leaders because many people love him, but also there are people who detest him for his dark past. So there's a lot of division over there. But no matter what's said and done, the Pope does have a large influence on what the policies that are framed by the Church, and that is going to have some sort of impact on how people think as well in the years to come. Thank you, Dr. Joseph, very much for joining me on World Panorama and sharing your thoughts on the show this week.
Thank you.
We're taking a very short break. After that, we'll get you a detailed report on the protests that are going on in Bangladesh. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for staying with us. Now, every day since early February, hundreds of thousands of demonstrators have massed at an intersection in Bangladesh's bustling capital city. But unlike the Tahrir Square or the Occupy Wall Street movements, they're not calling for the overthrow of the government or even greater economic equality. These rallies, led by youths and fueled by social media, are demanding the death penalty for those who took part in war crimes during Bangladesh's bloody battle for independence from Pakistan more than 4 decades ago.
Opposition activists clashed with police on the streets of Dhaka as an alliance of parties protested against what they called mass killing by police and governing party activists. Police arrested more than 50 people, including the acting Secretary General of the main opposition party, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, and its Joint Secretary General.
Police were far away from the rally at the start and suddenly they blasted a few cocktail bombs and they ran towards the police with sticks. There were no policemen near here. The police had stayed far away to allow them to hold the rally peacefully.
Meanwhile, experts in Bangladesh call for tougher measures in confronting the violence that has been perpetrated by the country's largest Islamist party, the Jamaat-e-Islami, against verdict given out to its party leaders over the war crimes committed during the country's independence struggle in 1971.
I am worried, so are most of the people. But at the same time, I think the unreasonable demands of the Jamaat must be faced boldly. The people of the country are demanding trials of the war criminals since Bangladesh came into being. And now that the trials have started, they are out to stop it. That is unacceptable.
Bangladesh has been rocked by protests and counter-protests since January, when a tribunal set up by the government to investigate abuses during the deadly war with Pakistan handed down its first conviction, sentencing a leader of the Jamaat-e-Islami party to death in absentia. Jamaat-e-Islami opposed Bangladeshi independence from Pakistan in 1971 war. About 60 people have been killed in protest since the tribunal's third conviction on February 28.
And amidst a diplomatic row between India and Italy over the fate of 2 Italian Marines, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has called for a peaceful resolution to the issue. Relations between Italy and India were further strained on Monday when the Italian government announced that Marines Latorre and Girone would remain in Italy and not return to India to face murder charges after being allowed to come home to vote by the Supreme Court. In what is being seen as an embarrassment for the Indian government, the Italian Foreign Ministry has said that the 2 Italian Marines charged in India with killing of 2 fishermen while on anti-piracy duty will not return to India. This was communicated to New Delhi by the Italian ambassador.
Italy has informed the Indian government that, given the formal initiation of an international dispute between the 2 states, the Marines Massimiliano Latorre and Salvatore Girone will not return to India at the end of their home leave granted to them.
The ministry said India had not responded to Italian requests to seek a diplomatic solution to the case, and there was now a formal dispute between the 2 countries over the terms of the UN Convention of the Law of the Sea.
I know it's a Supreme Court decision, but it's also a matter of our country's collective decision. We can't pass the ball on to anybody. Let's just read what is said. Let's understand their position, and we will respond. We'll let you know what exactly.
The ambassador of Italy, I summoned him to my office, and basically what I told him is that the contents of a note which was given to us conveying the position of the government of Italy regarding the 2 Marines is not acceptable to us.
The incident has caused a serious diplomatic dispute between Italy and India, which have traditionally had good relations. The main opposition party, BJP, pressed for strong action by the government to bring back the Marines.
The Bharatiya Janata Party would demand that in the interest of justice, the fugitives, the sailors who have escaped, should be brought back and tried under the Indian law in Indian courts as early as possible.
It is an alarming news, and it is a question to the integrity and sovereignty of India and to the highest judiciary, Italian government, represented through the ambassador of Italy in India.
The 2 dead Marines have been at the center of a year-long international row for allegedly shooting dead 2 Indian fishermen after mistaking them for pirates off the Kerala coast in February 2012. Italy claims the incident occurred in international waters and has been trying to get Latorre and Girone tried in Italian courts, while India contends the shooting occurred in its own territory. And entire Europe is reeling under the unexpected bout of snowfall. Normal life has been disrupted badly after major airports across Europe had to be shut down temporarily. Train services had to be stopped due to heavy snow, and severe blizzard conditions prevailed all across Europe.
Hundreds of British drivers were stranded on roads as snow caused traffic chaos in southern parts of England. The freezing conditions stranded some motorists in their cars for up to 8 hours overnight. Long tailbacks were reported on the A23 between Crawley and Brighton. Emergency services, local authorities and the highways agency worked through the night, attending hundreds of incidents. The severe blizzard conditions and strong gale force winds in Jersey, normally regarded as one of the warmest parts of the British Isles, have not been seen since 1979.
Unfortunately, at the moment, the jet stream is stuck to the south of us, so we've got cold air coming off from Scandinavia, Siberia, so we've got an airflow coming right in from the sort of northeast northerly, and it's bringing that very cold air right across the UK.
Like I say, it's taken about 6 hours to get from Bergoglio to here.
Not good then, is it?
No, not good at all. Most annoying thing is nobody tells you out.
I think maybe 4 hours or 5.
Not moved at all?
Crawling every now and then on black ice. I've probably moved about 200 metres.
Train services on some busy commuter routes were hit by the conditions with a biting wind, making temperatures seem lower than they were. At London's St Pancras station, passengers were stranded after the Eurostar ground to a halt. The high-speed Eurostar train service connecting London with the French and Belgian capitals was suspended.
I'm supposed to be going on the Eurostar today to get back to London to see my daughter who's just given birth to twins. But unfortunately, my train was delayed for a long time, and so now the Eurostar has also been cancelled. So now I am stuck.
Situation was no different elsewhere too. Frankfurt Airport in Germany had to be closed temporarily due to heavy snowfall. Takeoffs and landings had to be halted to clear snow from the runways. The airport was opened later, but flight operations continued to be affected. Meanwhile, France's weather authority put most of the north of the country on orange alert, the second highest level, with wintry conditions leading to the cancellation of a quarter of flights at Charles de Gaulle, one of Europe's major transport hubs. Less prepared for the kind of heavy snow that regularly hits northern and eastern neighbours, France, Germany, Britain and Belgium have struggled to keep moving amid the frosty, blustery conditions.
Time for a short breather. After that, a look at this year's best sports personalities as they get rewarded at the Laureate Sports Awards. Don't go anywhere. You're watching World Panorama. Time now to take a quick look at some of the other international news and a quick wrap. Here's Globe Watch. Xi Jinping was on Thursday named as China's new president and head of the military, succeeding Hu Jintao, completing a generational transition of power in the world's most populous country. China's parliament formally elected Xi as president 4 months after he took charge of the Communist Party. Besides being the general secretary of the Communist Party of China, which effectively rules the country, Xi has been appointed as the chairman of the powerful military commission when he was elected as the new leader of the party in November last. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Wednesday that supplying the Syrian opposition with weapons was illegal under international law, a day after Britain floated the possibility it might bypass an EU arms embargo to do just that. Russia, which has itself sold weapons to the Syrian government of President al-Assad and has repeatedly blocked tough action against him at the UN, says the only way to solve the Syrian crisis is through dialogue. Aides for Venezuelan President hopeful Enrique Capriles on Tuesday warned of threats against the opposition candidate as the campaign to replace the late President Chavez heated up. Tensions are already running high in a campaign that pits acting president and Chavez's hand-picked successor Nicolas Maduro against Capriles. The two began launching scathing personal attacks against each other shortly after the death of Hugo Chavez earlier this month. Mauritius Prime Minister Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam promised to fight militancy as well as maritime piracy with India to keep the sea lanes of the Indian Ocean secure during President Pranab Mukherjee's 3-day visit. Both the countries signed MOUs in health and medicine, tourism and cooperation, as well as in the field of senior citizens and persons with disabilities. New Delhi accords the highest importance to its relations with Port Louis as 70% of its people are of Indian origin and 38% of its foreign investment comes from that country as well as it has geostrategic location. Shifting gears, let's now get you all the sports updates that you've missed from through the week. Have a look at sports action.
Usain Bolt was named Sportsman of the Year at the Laureate Sports Awards yesterday at Rio de Janeiro. At the same time, Europe's Ryder Cup golfers were honoured as the best team. The televised awards ceremony was hosted by actor Morgan Freeman and actress Eva Longoria. Bolt won his third Laureus Award for his dominant Olympic performance at London, winning gold in 100, 200 and 400-meter relay. The European Ryder Cup team was rewarded for its remarkable rally against the United States at Medina. British heptathlete Jessica Ennis was chosen the Sportswoman of 2012, while Andy Murray was named the top breakthrough athlete and Felix Sanchez the main comeback athlete. The winner of the annual awards were chosen by nearly 50 members of the Laureus Sports Academy. US swimmer Michael Phelps splashed it up with some excited kids on Monday in Rio de Janeiro's largest urbanized slum neighborhood, the Roxina Favela. Phelps, who retired from swimming as the most decorated Olympian of all time after winning a record 22 medals, including 18 gold, was in Rio for 2013 Laureus World Sports Awards, in which he is nominated for the Sportsman of the Year award. France's Sebastian Ogier clinched victory in the Rally of Mexico to extend his lead at the top of the World Championship standings. Volkswagen driver Ogier put an early morning technical issue behind him to complete a resounding win by more than 3 minutes from Finland's Mikko Hirvonen.
A look now at all the very latest news from the world of movies and lifestyle. Here's our entertainment wrap. Hollywood stars Steve Carell and Jim Carrey worked their magic on the red carpet in Hollywood for the world premiere of their comedy, The Incredible Burt Wonderstone. The film tells the story of superstar magicians Burt Wonderstone and Anton Marvelton, who've ruled the Las Vegas Strip for years, raking in millions with illusions as big as Burt's growing ego. Facing cutthroat competition from guerrilla Steve magician Steve Gray, played by Jim Carrey, whose cult following surges with each outrageous event, even their show is starting to look stale.
I really have to pee, Richard.
The Incredible Burt Wonderstone also stars Olivia Wilde as the glamorous magic assistant. The film opens on the 15th of March. Walt Disney Company's big-budget 3D movie, Oz the Great and Powerful, amassed more than $80 million in US and Canadian ticket sales, the biggest domestic debut of 2013. The prequel, starring James Franco, added nearly $70 million in international markets for a combined $150 million opening around the world. The Los Angeles Police Department are investigating a website that has published information reported to be private financial information of celebrities such as Ashton Kutcher, Britney Spears and Donald Trump, and high-profile present and former US government officials including Hillary Clinton and Vice President Joe Biden. The FBI said they are aware of the site but will not confirm nor deny the existence of the investigation as per department policies. That's all we have for you in this edition of World Panorama. I'll be back next week, same time, with more world news. Till then, you can track us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. This week, we wrap up in Japan, where 9 top patisseries whipped up a collection of sweet-toothed pret-a-porter finery to walk the runway for the Tokyo Sweets collection as the cakewalk got a taste of high-fashion confectionery. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.